Last week, I asked you guys to send me your best portrait. That way I can critique it, give you my honest thoughts and opinions on it. And at the same time, I wanted to edit that raw photo. So I asked you guys to also send me an edited photo. That way we can compare the editing styles, your editing style and my editing style at the end of the video. I had a ton of submissions and I obviously can't fit them all into the video or else we'd be here all day. There was a lot of people that also submitted just JPEGs and no RAWs. And just to make it clear, a raw photo isn't an unedited JPEG. What I mean by a raw photo is a actual raw file, a raw file format like ARW or CR3, raw file formats like that. But with that being said, let's hop into Lightroom and start critiquing. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna dive into this portrait taken by Neil or oatmeal_photography on Instagram. And I just wanna mention that these are my opinion, and my opinion is completely subjective. Everyone has their own way and style of shooting, and I can't tell you what style is better. Everyone is different, art is different. So the first thing that I'm noticing here is that this photo is really underexposed. You can actually see that in the histogram here, and I assume that's because they wanted to expose and not blow out this window in the back. However, if I were to take this shot, I would actually expose for her, and even if I blew out the window in the back, that wouldn't matter to me. Only because when I'm taking portraits, the main priority is my subject. So I actually just made a YouTube video on it. You should go check it out. And it talks about this exact rule of underexposing and how everybody says to underexpose. But I actually found that underexposing was ruining my portraits. So I just posted that video on YouTube. So I'm going to dive into editing here, and I'll show you exactly why I stopped underexposing my photos or my portraits. So if I zoom into her face here, you can actually see that there's not much skin texture here. If I wanted to skin retouch this photo, or even if he wanted to skin retouch this photo, there's not much information to play with here. There's not much skin texture and you can't really do much with it. So this is one of the reasons why I stopped underexposing my photos. If we compare this skin texture here to this photo, that's perfectly exposed. It's not underexposed, nothing like that. You can see that there's a lot more skin texture to work with in this photo if you were to do things like skin retouching. So I would recommend to expose for your subject, not for the sky or for a window. There's also no contrast in this photo. So if I reset this photo, what I mean by contrast is that our model kind of blends in with the background. There's nothing that makes her pop from the background. So in all the portraits that I've ever taken, I found that photos like this, where there's not much contrast, are also a lot harder to edit, as opposed to a photo like this, where there's a lot more contrast. You can clearly see a difference between the subject and the background. This photo will be much easier to edit than a photo like this. And that's just what I found. Overall, the portrait isn't that bad. There are a few things that I would change though, and the first one would be I would get her to maybe fake laugh or something just to get some more emotion out of her. It almost looks like she's bored, I guess. And part of the reason why there's not too much emotions in this photo is that there's no catch lights. Like, yeah, you have a little bit here because the light's hitting her on the backside, but in this eye right here, there's no catch lights at all. And when you don't have catch lights, it almost makes the subject look dull and really like not alive. So I would highly recommend positioning your model in a way that, especially if you're shooting in natural light, where you will get some catch lights in their eyes. If we compare this to a photo like this, where we have catch lights in our subject's eyes, I don't know, this photo just looks more alive because of her emotions, her smile, but also the catch lights. Overall, not a bad shot. This is how I would edit it. And like I said, if I had to make one big change, it would be the underexposing. I would stop underexposing and instead expose for your subject when you're shooting portraits, because at the end of the day, you're exposing for a window that is not the main focus. Not too many people care about this window. The main focus is going to be the subject. And I would probably recompose this to where my subject is more in the middle, just because this whole top part of this photo is really distracting. There's a lot on the top, and my eyes when I'm looking at this doesn't go directly to the subject, and instead it goes to that window. I don't know why, but like I said, we can't really crop this because we're gonna be cutting off her elbow there. So honestly, with photos like these where I left too much headspace and I can't really crop it and my attention is not drawn to the subject, I will literally just grab the crop tool, I'll change it to landscape, and I'll do something like this. Now all my attention is drawn right to her. The background, that window, that plant is not that distracting, and this just makes for a better portrait. At least I think so. Okay, so on to our next photo. This was taken by Sanjay or swams.photography on Instagram. This is honestly a banger. I love her outfit. He nailed sharpness. Everything about this photo I absolutely love. Properly lit. There's really not much I would change. I like how he's using natural light and he positioned her closer to the window, and her pose. Everything about this photo I like. This photo here, I can just tell right away that it would do really good with my daffodil preset, and so I'll slap that on there. It's a lot more softer. I absolutely love my daffodil preset. I use it on all my photos. Like I said, I like this photo. The only thing that I would do is, you can see this little black piece here. It's a little bit distracting. So I would just crop it down a little bit. Get her eyes on that third line. I think that's it. And just like that, we adjusted the temperature, the exposure. We added a little bit of a mask, and that's it. That's what we did for this photo using the daffodil preset. I think this is a banger. If I had to change one thing here, like if I was being really, really picky, and it's only because I've been staring at this photo for a while now, and that would be to get her to brush her hair. I usually get models to bring a brush. That way they can brush their hair if there's a lot of flyaways. Sometimes they can be distracting. In this photo, they're not really that distracting, so I wouldn't even bother. But yeah, that's if I'm being like really picky. On to our next photo here. This was taken by Eldred or Eldred_Paradeza on Instagram. I hope I'm saying that right. I like this photo. I like the pose. I like that he captured those catch lights in her eyes. I love the location, and I really like that he exposed for her and not the sky, even though you have all these beautiful mountains in the back. With this photo here, I'd be curious to know what camera and lens this was shot on. The only reason why I say this is if I remove the grain that I put on and I zoom into her face, it looks like it's not that sharp. Like I said with the first photo, there's not much detail to work with in the texture of her skin. And this could be for a few reasons. Either the lens isn't a sharp lens. The photo was taken from pretty far, so if you don't have a lot of megapixels and I'm zooming in, I'm not gonna get those details. So maybe the megapixels isn't enough, or he just missed focus. Especially when I look at the metadata and it says it was taken at f5, there should be really no reason why it's not sharp. You should have been able to retain a lot more detail in her skin. It almost looks like it's been softened. Let's check the before, let's check the after. I think this is awesome. Again, great shot, great location, great pose. Everything about it, her smiling, I really like that. I think we're gonna end the video here at 3 photos. Let me know if you wanna see more critiques like this. If you found this video helpful or you learned something new, make sure to click that like button and hit that subscribe button if you wanna see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.